Okay, everybody, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today on this fine Friday afternoon, I guess. Getting to the end of another work week for many people. I know, really, the work week, those days are over, right? Because it used to be Monday through Friday. And that doesn't happen anymore. Now people work Saturday, Sunday, you name it. They work every day. But make sure if you work every day, you get that day off. So important to have a day off. God says you need to have a day off. You know, before Christianity, there were no days off. So you can thank Christianity or Judaism for bringing that day off. Now, thanks for joining us today. Friday edition of Hope Radio. Coming to you live on 1590 WARV, 92.7 FM WARV, and also Facebook, New Hope Radio. And Aaron is here to meet you and greet you on the New Hope Radio chat room. Mark is there, Karen is there, Terry's there. They just keep coming in. Glad to have them come right in. And looking forward to expanding our audience. Doreen's checking in. Well, let's grow our radio audience, AM, FM, and let's grow our Facebook audience too. Debbie said, maybe you guys can, invite people to listen. Call your friends, invite them, say, hey, check out the radio, 1230 Christian Radio. There might be something good there for you. That's our hope. Our hope is that we bring you something good for your life, positive. That's why we're New Hope Radio. And today I got a question for you. Do you have a vision for your life? And we're going to talk about that today. Having a vision for your life. And don't worry, I'm not talking about, what goals do you want to accomplish? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to live? All those things. I want to talk today about a vision that all of us should share. Ellen's checking in. All right, Ellen, welcome aboard. That this vision, imagine if, first of all, if all Christians had this vision, how cool it would be. And then even more so, if all people had this vision, the vision that we're going to talk about today. What is a vision? A vision is something that you head toward. That's my understanding today. When you have a vision for your life, this is what you're heading toward. Okay? So let me give you a little background. One of the scribes came and heard them arguing, the disciples probably, right? And recognizing that Jesus had answered them well, asked, what commandment is the foremost of all? Michelle's checking in. We got some New Hope Radio listeners, fresh out of, I guess, wherever they're coming from. Welcome aboard, Michelle. What's the foremost of all commandments? And Jesus said, the foremost is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, He's one Lord. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. And then he added one more. He said, and then if you want to know about the second one, it's like this. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And there's no other commandment greater than these. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with loving God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? And what's wrong with loving people? What's wrong with that? So I'm going to take the liberty today and divide these four aspects of loving God into the four major categories of our being. Okay? What are the four major categories of our being? The heart, the soul, the mind, and our strength. So, with the heart, we're going to talk about who you are spiritually. With the soul, it's who you are relationally. With the mind, it's who you are vocationally. And with the strength, it's who you are physically. So there's like the four major aspects of our being. We're going to take them one by one. and see how they can become a great vision for our personal lives. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. The heart is where we store all the divine information that we need to have a relationship with God. The psalmist said in Psalm 119, "Your word I have treasured in my heart." Why? That I might not sin against you. So think of the heart as the storage compartment of divine truth, because that's what it is. And it's so important because, you know, what goes in the heart will be lived out through the life. That our lives are going to be a physical demonstration of what's inside the heart. I'm like, wow. So you know what's inside somebody's heart by watching the way that they live and listening to the things that they say. Because the mouth is the overflow of the heart. So I would say that your relationship with God begins with His Word, because we learn His Word, it goes in the heart, and based on that, we have the knowledge on how to have a relationship with Him. Paul said to young Timothy, all Scripture is inspired by God. We believe that. We believe God inspired the writing of this book. And it's profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. Now, what do those four categories mean? It's profitable for teaching. It teaches us who God is. It's profitable for reproof. It teaches me where I'm wrong. It's profitable for correction. It shows me how to get right. And it's profitable for training. It teaches me how to live the Christian way of life. There it is. It's all there. The Bible can direct our steps through life. So that's love the Lord with all your heart. Have a vision to love God with your heart and have a relationship with Him first and foremost. Secondly, love the Lord with all your soul. Now, this is where we meet people. I believe the soul is that apparatus by which we relate to our environment. Okay? That's how we relate to the environment, through the soul. We have relationships with people, right? You've heard of soul relationships. You've heard of soul power. You've heard of soulmates, right? With the soul, we relate to the world around us. You know, animals have souls. An animal knows how to relate to the world around him. Your dog gets excited when he sees you. He cries when you go away. And he warns because he's aware of his surroundings, so he barks because there's something going on out in the yard. He's like, woo, 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 woo. So even the dog knows how to relate to their surroundings. Okay? So having a vision for your personal life means that I am intentional about how I relate to the world around me. You got to be intentional. See, that's why we talked this week about having wisdom. You want to have wisdom when you relate to the world around you. And in the world, that's a big, big general description of what? People, events, incidents, everything that has to do with your outside life, your outward life. So you want to have wisdom for the soul, because it's through the soul that you're going to relate with everything. So we've got the heart, right? With the heart, I learned to have a relationship with God. With the soul, I learned to have a relationship with my environment, which includes people, circumstances, and events. In many Psalms, David cried out to God. He cried out, rescue my soul. Seems like somebody was always after him. Somebody was always in pursuit of him. He cried out, rescue my soul. Another time he cried out, deliver my soul. Another time, restore my soul. Remember in Psalm 23, the beautiful shepherd psalm? He restores my soul. He knows that sometimes, the soul, gets beat down, gets worn down, doesn't it? Ever been just like exhausted from the end of the day? And I don't mean physically. I mean emotionally, in the soul. Just like, ugh. And maybe it was because of certain people. Maybe it was things that you had to deal with, or things that you went through. Maybe some things that you had no control over. And you're like David, God, restore my soul. Refresh it. Regenerate it. Make it alive again. Because right now I'm not feeling too alive. Make my soul alive. You know, even Jesus himself needed to be refreshed in his soul. You know, the Bible tells us many times he went off away alone into the mountains to pray, to be with God. He left the crowds. He left the disciples. He just needed to what? Restore his soul. You know, being Jesus required a lot. And it took everything out of him. You know, teaching, preaching, answering questions, healing people, walking everywhere he went. Then the hostility of the religious crowds. And he needed to just get away. You know that commercial? Want to get away? It's true. Sometimes we need to just get away. Restore the soul. So you love God with your soul, and sometimes your soul gets worn down. So you restore your soul. And you know what that'll do? That will, I like this part, that will refresh your relationship with God. It will. Because you see, the world around you can be very difficult. You know that. I know that. We all know that. And we need to be refreshed. Hey, that's why we take vacations, right? Except the problem with vacations today, a lot of people say, oh, I need a vacation from my vacation. Their vacation wasn't a very restful time. Sometimes we get extra busy on a vacation, and then we need a vacation to get over our vacation. When you plan a vacation, let it be a time of refreshment, a time of regenerating yourself. You know, don't let your vacation be another thing that just wears you down. Let it be something that fills you up. Okay? So I think of family, friends, co-workers, strangers, situations in life. So you want to maintain that vision to keep loving God. And like the psalmist said, I store his word in my heart because I don't want to go against God. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go against God? I know he's for me. He's not against me. He's for me. Why would I want to go against him? I want to walk with him. I want to be in relationship with him. And as I realize my soul needs God's help, if I can love God in spite of the world around me, then I can love those who make the world around me. Think about that. If you can love God in spite of the world around you, he'll help you to love those who are in the world around you. See, it's back to loving people with God's love. God's love is an unconditional love. It's not a conditional love. It's an unconditional love. That's why the Christian life, you know, it takes thought. It takes diligence. You have to live the Christian life intentionally. You can't just, you know, live in la-la land and think you can live the Christian life. It requires forethought. It requires focus and vision. It's an intentional lifestyle. Thirdly, so we got love the Lord with all your heart, right? Love the Lord with all your soul. Number 3, love the Lord with all your mind. Now, the mind is the place that we actually do the thinking. Okay, it's like the factory that takes all the thoughts that were stored away in the heart and it works them together. Take your example. Take, for example, your job. Your job might require a lot of thinking. You might have to make decisions. Maybe you have to make comparisons or projections or corrections. Even driving a big truck, you have to be a thinker. You got to think, So we see a lot of trucks that have accidents. And why do they have accidents? I don't know. Maybe they're not thinking like they should. You got to be thinking. You got that big rig, and you got to be a thinker. Can I make this corner? Am I going too fast? Oh, look at that hill. So the thinking part of who we are is the putting to work all the thoughts that we stored up. Your vocation may be very demanding, so you need a vision for how you're going to keep your mind sharp. Probably most vocations are demanding, I would think. Most of them are. So you want to have a sharp mind. I don't think it matters what you do for work. I believe we all need to answer the same question. Do I have a plan to get better at what I do? That's all. You always want to get better. You know why? It keeps you from getting stagnant, from getting stale, from getting bored. Whatever you do, put it in your head. I always want to improve. I want to get better. Now, there's a warning here. If you don't have a plan to get better at what you do, a couple of things could happen. Number one, you get very bored with your job, and then you get very bored with your life. That's no good. Then, if you don't get better and you're bored, you could make mistakes. Maybe your work would have poor quality. Hey, it could lead to quitting. You don't want to do that. Others will surpass you. And then you find yourself only wishing instead of doing. Only wishing. I wish this, I wish that. I wish this happened, I wish this would happen. Instead of doing to make it happen. Things happen, but you got to do something to make something happen. Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, he said, the soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing. The sluggard is like the lazy guy. The word slug, ever see a slug? They just go so slow. They go so slow you can't even see him move. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing. Oh, but the soul of the diligent is made prosperous. Diligence, that's an awesome quality. If you're a diligent person, you have a wonderful virtue. I like diligent people. I like people, they're like, okay, man, let's get this thing done. We're not going to quit till we get it done. They're diligent. I like people that see something and they say, hey, we can make this better. There's a better way to do this. That's diligence. It takes effort. It's okay. Requires a little strength, a little stamina. Requires a strong mind. But I'll tell you what does the Bible say? The soul of the diligent will be made prosperous. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 12:24, the hand of the diligent will rule, but the slack hand will be put to forced labor. That means that they'll always be working like as a slave. And you might feel like you work as a slave at your job. But the point is, the hand of the diligent is going to feel good about themselves. The slack hand isn't going to value what they do. They're just going to go through life and... You know that there are people that try to get away with doing the minimum? I'm like, why would you do that? Why would somebody want to do the minimum? I mean, are they that lazy? What's the sense of accomplishment when you do the minimum? I would think there's a greater reward when you put your best foot forward and you do the best you can. And especially if you're a Christian, you always want to do the best you can. But I like this passage in Proverbs 26. The sluggard says, there's a lion in the road. There's a lion in the open square. What does that mean? It means he's always got an excuse why he doesn't go out and do what he should do. I can't go out there. There's a lion out there. I can't go to work. It might rain. And I can't do this. I can't do that. All kinds of reasons. Their life is like one excuse after another. But the problem is, they never experience the joy of a job well done. That's a great joy, you know. A job well done. You get good at something, you practice it, and then you do it, and you step back and you say, yes, job well done. Well, let me give you one more. We've only got a few minutes left. We've had love the Lord your God with all your mind, soul, heart. Love him with all your strength. See, we're talking about a vision. This is what we want to see in life. Remember this, your body is the temple of God. God lives inside you. You know that? A lot of people don't know that. That when you're a believer in Christ, God lives inside of you. It's incredible. So our body becomes the temple of God. The Apostle Paul, he commented on the physical condition of the Christian. He said, I discipline my body and I make it my slave. See, he's not separating the physical life from the spiritual life. He's saying, no, man, they're all one. It's your whole being. We don't how do you say it? We don't compartmentalize who we are. You know, it's not like, well, you know, this part is about God and this part is not. This part's about something. No, it's all about God. Our whole body. That's why he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Paul said, I discipline my body. I make it my slave. So that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified. What he's saying is, man, I don't want to have a bad testimony. I don't want to look like a hypocrite. I don't want to look like somebody that, you know, says one thing and does another. I want my life to line up with my faith. I want my actions to complement what I believe. That's living the Christian life. And when he said, I discipline my body, you know what the word actually means? To hit under the eye. Boom. It's like to punch yourself. He's disciplining himself. It's not easy. Discipline's not easy, is it? Sometimes we don't like it. You know? I remember walking by a shelf one time in the store, and I heard something. I heard, Dave. Well, Dave, come here. I went over there. There's a whole shelf of ring dings. Come here. Come and get us. Ring dings were talking to me. I said, no. I kept walking. But without discipline, it's like, oh, those ring dings win every time. They win every time. So you get a discipline. Because I know me. And some stuff I just keep on moving, baby. Just keep on walking. You know, if you think about the physical health of Americans today, it's very disturbing. The most civilized nation on the earth, and we take more prescription medications than any other country. Many maladies that people suffer from. And I think a lot of it is due to lack of discipline. That means it can be corrected. Diet and exercise can correct a lot of the maladies that people have. So why don't we do it? I don't know. We need to. Next Wednesday night, I'll talk about it next week, we're going to have a wonderful message on health and nutrition. Hope you can make it out. It's going to be great. Dr. Ross Rukowski is going to be here, and he's going to speak about health and nutrition next Wednesday. We'll talk about that next week. Okay? So when you love God, you know what? You want to take care of the body that God gave you. You do. You want to take care of it. And remember, your body is the temple of God. He lives inside of you. Don't make the mistake of just spiritualizing your relationship with God. Because Christ takes into consideration our whole being. He wants it all. He wants it all. Heart, soul, mind, and strength. Just because something's lawful doesn't make it right. Right? There are things that we can do, but that doesn't mean that they're right, even though they're not against the law. Paul said, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are profitable. So think about it. Yes, I have a right to do it, but is it going to help me or hurt me? That's the real question. All things are lawful, he said, but I will not be mastered by anything. See, he's saying, I want to be in control of my life. And by loving God, I'm actually giving control of my life to God. But he's not going to be mastered by his appetite. He's not going to be mastered by his emotions. He's not going to be mastered by things that might give him a temporal gratification, but there's going to be regret in the end. We have to learn to say no. That's what discipline is. Discipline is learning to say no. Think about that. Discipline is learning to say no. You think about our great athletes. You think they say no? Of course they do. They say no to late nights out. They say no to bad food. They say no to things that'll get in the way of their sport, because the most important thing to them is winning in their sport. For the Christian, we want to say no to things that get in the way of our walk with God, because the most important thing to us is our walk with God, because it affects not only us, but so many other people. Well, listen, thank you for coming along today. Hey, we got a great topic this Sunday. You know what it is? It's in our Be a Hero series. Women make great heroes. That's our message. Women make great heroes. And they do. You can find out about it Sunday morning right here, 9 and 11 a.m. We'll also be at newhopecc.tv. You can stream the service there as well. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week for more of New Hope Radio.